Your top political stories of the week. Biden was raised a poor black child. 0 logs given from Wilmington, Delaware. Representative Sheila Jackson needs a straitjacket. And more. I'm Dani, and this is the Just Dani Show.
My story? Okay. It was never easy for me. I was born a poor black child.
On Sunday, Biden talked about attending a black church every day after morning mass. Problem is, though, nobody seems to remember that happening, and in the video, some dude named Andy, whoever he is, supposedly knows it's no joke.
And let's say one thing to rest. I may be a practicing Catholic. I used to go to 7:30 Mass every morning in high school and then in college before I went to the black church. Not a joke. Andy knows this.
I don't know if you knew this or not, but it's no joke is code for I'm currently lying my ass off right now. Of course, it only took Twitterville about 0.05 seconds to go off on the situation. Follow the Money tweeted, quote, makes sense. He was born a poor black child raised by Puerto Ricans and studied with the Jews. So there's that. Then Soy Top Gun tweeted, Joe Biden was black when he was a child. He defeated slavery single-handedly using a tube sock filled with wood screws. Although I think the biggest joke is some of these old newspaper pics. Here's one. Joe Biden is shown here with high-ranking KKK member Robert Byrd, of course, holding hands with him. That's real sexy. And then in 1977, he's quoted as saying, integrating black students would turn schools into a racial jungle. I don't want my children to grow up in a jungle, a racial jungle.
Fucking guy.
Speaking of Biden, as you may remember, Republican Representative Lance Gooden of Texas immediately sent a letter last week following Biden's classified documents debacle. He, of course, was demanding the visitor logs from Biden's Wilmington home. Then again on Sunday, Republican Representative James Comer of Kentucky also demanded to see logs for Biden's private residence. However, the White House made a statement that, quote, like every president in decades of modern history, his personal residence is personal. The Secret Service also chimed in on the matter Sunday, stating that while detail is actually assigned to the home, they don't record visitors. Secret Service spokesman Anthony Guglielmi told reporters, we don't independently maintain our visitor logs because it's a private residence. Well, James Comer went on Fox News Monday morning and had this to say about them logs.
Calling on the White House to release visitor logs. And you wrote this to White House Chief of Staff Ron Klain, quote, without a list of individuals who have visited his residence, the American people will never know who had access to these highly sensitive documents. The House Oversight Committee demands transparency into whether any individuals with foreign connections to the Biden family gained access to President Biden's residence and the classified documents that he has mishandled for years. Who do you worry, Congressman Comer, is on that visitor's log?
Well, it could be anyone, considering all the money the Biden family has received from our adversaries around the world. Your guess is as good as mine. But we know that Hunter Biden lived there for several years. We know that Hunter Biden has a history of having problems with landlords with respect to who he lets in on the premises of different properties that he was leasing. So, we've got a lot of concerns here. Now, you go back to the way the FBI and DOJ handled the Mar-a-Lago raid. They took security camera footage. They took all the video. So they know exactly who was in and out of Mar-a-Lago. We have no idea who was in and out of President Biden's home. They didn't take security cameras. They never released visitor logs. They didn't raid the residence. In fact, after the general counsel was appointed, we still find out that President Biden's personal attorneys are still rummaging around what essentially would be a crime scene, trying to find information to turn over. So, this whole process has been handled poorly. It shows there's a two-tier system of justice in America, and we want to know exactly who all had access to those classified documents at the Biden home.
After legal analyst Jonathan Turley learned no logs were kept, he tweeted, "The White House is saying that no visitor logs exist for his personal residence in Delaware. That will not end the headache for the Bidens. Indeed, it may make it worse. If Congress has a right to the information, which it does, it can now seek alternative sources for the information, including interviewing staff and family on past visitors. Those interviews are subject to criminal penalties for false statements." This could get interesting and quite hilarious. Because could you imagine them doing these interviews with the lineup would be? The lineup would be the start of a bad joke. In walks a drug dealer, hooker, and a stripper. So basically what they're saying is it's his personal residence. Everything he does there is personal. So hands off. No logs. We're not giving you any visitor logs. We don't even keep them. Although, did he do some actual president stuff in his home? The waters got a little bit muddy when an old tweet from July by CNN senior White House correspondent MJ Lee had surfaced. She said back in April, when lots of public officials in D.C. were testing positive for COVID, we asked ex-press secretary Jen Psaki what working from home, quarantining, running the country would look like if the president were to get COVID. Psaki's answer at the time, quote, "The president of the United States can work from anywhere, can run the country from anywhere." And then, of course, you see where she lists the full exchange there. And then in February, though, we can watch Pippi Longstocking mention it during another press conference. Take a look.
The president is obviously now going to be in Delaware this weekend. Can you share what he will be doing there? Will he be traveling with members of his national security team? Will he be receiving regular updates on Ukraine?
Sure. He will have a meeting with members of his national security team tomorrow in Delaware. I will note that while every president can work from anywhere they are, because that is how presidencies are equipped, he is traveling to Delaware for the memorial service of a family member, and he will be, that is why he is traveling there this weekend.
So which is it? Has Puddin' Pants worked from home? Has he not worked from home? Well, wait a minute. Wait a damn minute. An article from The Hill, dated October 24th, 2021, clearly states that he did. The headline reads, "Manchin meeting with Biden, Schumer in Delaware," and in part states, quote, "This morning, the president hosted leader Chuck Schumer and Senator Joe Manchin from breakfast at his home in Wilmington for what was a productive discussion about the Build Back Better agenda, including equipping Americans to get back to work and making our economy deliver for the middle class." Meanwhile, though, it's being said that Biden made just over 50 trips to his residence, and again, no visitor logs. But I think here we're asking the wrong question. I think the more important question here would be, who was at the residence when he wasn't there? I mean, we all know that Hunter Biden actually resided there, and we all know about the stellar people that he associates with. So not only could he have actually obtained the documents while he was staying there and sold them to China, or for all we know, the Ukraine, hence why we keep saying them billions to fund their war, perhaps gag money. But what about Silky, his drug dealer, or Brittany the stripper, or Heidi the hoe? I mean, we literally have like no idea who saw these documents. But here's another idea for you, and it's just my opinion. A lot of people have actually been saying it as well, but I think it might be a setup. I mean, Biden could literally be being set up by his own people. We all know this dipshit can't last another term. He's barely coherent now. So why not screw him out of running again? And this is the way that they can do it, right? I mean, they knew, come on. They knew he had these documents for quite some time. They knew about these documents. They were just waiting for the perfect time to divulge it. I mean, this way they can prop up their next idiot Democrat candidate for 2024. I mean, what do you guys think? Comment below. Let me know what you think. It would be perfect. I mean, they have control over all the elections. I mean, we've got Hunter Biden's laptop. That I know, you know, they know, we all know that they knew about, and prior to it even being leaked, and then they said it was Russian disinformation and all this other horse shit, so they could let him continue to run of course, win the presidency. Anywho, so you're not pulling the wool over my eyes or anybody else's eyes when you say, you know, oh, look, we found these documents. Oh, horseshit. You knew about those too. Like I said in last week's show, you just waited. You just waited to divulge that stuff. You just, for purposes, because you didn't want to, you know, screw up the midterms. I mean, it's apparent. But anyway, so next we got Democratic Representative Sheila Jackson Lee of Texas introduced a House bill on Monday. I'm thinking maybe because she was bored or just, you know, mental. It's called the Conspiracy to Commit White Supremacy. It's formally named H.R. 61, Leading Against White Supremacy Act of 2023, which includes criticism of non-white people, which influences an individual to commit a hate crime. What? It seeks to prosecute white supremacy, of course it does, inspired hate crime, and conspiracy to commit white supremacy inspired hate crime. So here it is here. So we're going to break it down further. Basically, someone that engages in a white supremacy hate crime when white supremacy ideology has motivated the planning, development, preparation, or perpetration, boy, that's a tongue twister, of actions that constituted a crime or were undertaken in furtherance of activity that, if effectuated, would have constituted a crime. This would also entail publishing of material advancing white supremacy, white supremacist ideology, antagonism based on replacement theory. Oh, that's cute. Replacement theory. Or hate speech that vilifies or is otherwise directed against any non-white person or group and would allow the DOJ, of course, to allow the DOJ, the authority to conduct operations and activities to prevent this violent activity and maintain records of the hate crimes as well as prosecute individuals. Dun, dun, dun. So here's my question to this bullshit. Who determines what is actual white supremacy? I mean, it's pretty much subjective. One person could think something is white supremacy, another person might think that it's not. So who makes this determination? Oh, well, the DOJ does. It seems like the DOJ does. Seems pretty legit. Republican Representative Lauren Boebert tweeted about this bill. In case you were aware of what the Democrats were prioritizing in the 118th Congress, just take a look. When they're not bankrupting our country, they're busy making a mockery of the First Amendment. Complete, utter insanity. This woman needs a straitjacket. And fortunately for her, I think they only come in white. What do you think about this new H.R. 61 bill? Next up, we got pansy-ass Eric Swalwell is back crybabying again.
Fucking guy.
Always playing the victim, this guy. He's given us the tired rerun, of course, of the whole I didn't bang, bang, fang, fang when appearing on The View Wednesday. Take a look.
But Congressman, so Kevin McCarthy has, plans to remove you from the House Intel Committee, which you've been on since, I believe, 2015. He's accused you of being compromised by a Chinese spy. He said, if you got the briefing I got from the FBI, you wouldn't have Eric Swalwell on any committee. I'd like to give you a chance to respond to that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. So first and foremost, you don't have to take my word for it. Take the FBI's word for it. 3 times they've come out and said that this person, by the way, who volunteered for our campaign in Barack Obama's first term, before I was on the Intelligence Committee, that this person, when they told me who she was, and by the way, my district, 35% Asian Americans. So this isn't like a Chinese person in Iowa, right? I mean, this is a very diverse congressional district. And so in an Asian American predominant district. And so when they told me about this, I did everything I hope everyone would do, which was to cooperate and help the FBI, and she was removed. And by the way, Speaker Boehner was briefed about this, never sought to remove me from the committee. Devin Nunes, who was the chairman of the Intelligence Committee, was briefed about this. And Donald Trump, who would later find out about this when he was president, with the greatest access to classified information of anyone who walks the earth, if he could have embarrassed me by showing any wrongdoing, after all the names he's called me, he would have. And today, the Washington Post fact checker, the independent fact checker Glenn Kessler, gave Kevin McCarthy 4 Pinocchios for his claims about this.
Only 4?
Only 4. So it looks to me like political vengeance.
Take the FBI's word for it. No, thank you, Farty McFly.
Chris, so far, the evidence is uncontradicted that the president used taxpayer dollars to ask the Ukrainians to help him cheat an election.
Chinese takeout apparently gives them gas. Ilhan Omar and Adam Schiff will also be joining Swalwell on House Speaker Kevin McCarthy's list of confirmations to be removed from their respective committee House seats due to their previous misconduct as a member of Congress. Swalwell blames, of course, you just saw, quote, political vengeance. No, sir. No, it's not political vengeance. It has to do with you tripped, slipped on the floor, and accidentally stuck your dick in a Chinese spy.
Me love you long time. Me so horny.
Could literally happen to anybody. We know, Eric. We know. We got your back. We got your back. And the reason why the FBI, of course, found no wrongdoing is because vodka-infused Nancy Pelosi refused to remove him even after 17 GOP lawmakers actually signed a letter requesting his removal because his actions were an unacceptable national security risk. And of course, during a briefing back then, she was standing by Swalwell, she said, adding, quote, I don't have any concerns about Mr. Swalwell. Alrighty. Republican Representative Firebrand Lauren Boebert, however, would not let the House forget Swalwell's indiscretions. Remember this?
And then the cherry on top. My colleague and 3-month presidential candidate from California, who is on the Intelligence Committee, slept with Fang, a Chinese spy. Let me say that again. A member of Congress who receives classified briefings was sleeping with the enemy. This is unacceptable, and this would never be.
Time's expired. Gentleman from Florida.
Just like he said he was exonerated from farting on national TV, aka Fartgate, he believes he will forever be exonerated from his Chinese spy love affair. You know what? Just for shits, let's play that Fartgate video back again. No pun intended.
Chris, so far, the evidence is uncontradicted that the president used taxpayer dollars to ask the Ukrainians to help him cheat an election.
Oh my God. Did you see him lift up a little bit of that fart? It's like he was trying to squeeze his ass cheeks together to like stop more from being released, as if like to pinch it off. Wait, let's watch that in slow motion.
Chris, so far, the evidence is uncontradicted that the president used taxpayer dollars to ask the Ukrainians to help him cheat an election.
Ah, did you see the flinch? That's the fart flinch. It's a fart flinch. Moving on. So Trump is coming back to social media. Did you know this? Currently, he is attempting to get Facebook to let him back on, and it's been implied that he will also be returning to Twitter as well, even though previously he said he wasn't and would just remain on his platform, Truth Social. This change of heart regarding these other social media platforms are, they're clearly necessary, in my opinion, and probably everybody else's opinion, to properly run for president again in 2024. Trump's attorneys actually wrote Meta, formerly known as Facebook, a letter on Tuesday stating in part, we believe that the ban on President Trump's account on Facebook has dramatically distorted and inhibited the public discourse. Moreover, every day that President Trump's political voice remains silenced furthers an inappropriate interference in the American political and election process. Meanwhile, though, dickhead Adam Schiff wrote himself a little letter, along with 3 other Democrat Congress members last month, demanding that Trump not be reinstated to Facebook. Schiff wrote, following the 2022 midterm elections, we write to urge Meta to maintain its commitment to keeping dangerous and unfounded election denial content off its platform. To that end, we also urge Meta and its leadership to continue the suspension of former President Donald Trump's Facebook account beyond January and to carefully monitor and counter the spread of harmful election misinformation. Oh, so harmful. So harmful. Including the big lie about the 2020 presidential election on Facebook. Meta must commit to strong election misinformation policies year-round, not just seasonal, as we are still witnessing falsehoods about voting and the prior elections spreading on your platform.
Fucking guy.
Oy. So after ALX tweeted on Wednesday, breaking, Donald Trump is reportedly preparing to come back to Twitter and Facebook after being reinstated, Elon Musk replied in a tweet, "Will be interesting to see how the Biden administration reacts to this. They may try to weaponize federal agencies against Twitter. He's got a good point. He's got a really good point there, and they probably will. And as you remember, Elon actually reinstated Trump on November 19th. However, Trump obviously hasn't officially made a comeback. So there you go. So are you guys, what do you guys think? Comment below. Are you excited about Trump coming back? Do you think it's a good idea, especially in lieu of the presidential run he's about to make? There's a lot of blue checks out there on Twitter that are super excited, voice their opinions, and they're wanting him to come back. So what do you guys think? I think it's a great idea. And just for the record, it's very important for anybody running for office. I mean, even, minute, elections like a city council election, a mayoral election, stuff like that. You need to be on social media. You need to get out there. You need to interact with the folks on social media. But I want to also bring to your attention Laura Loomer. Now, Laura Loomer didn't have that going on, and she did pretty damn well against Daniel Webster here in Florida, the 11th district. She did pretty well. She came really close, and she didn't have Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at her disposal at that time, and she still fared really well. So you could only imagine that had she had those platforms, she may have pulled it off. So it doesn't go for saying that you can't do well, or even for that matter win, without being on social media, but it's very important to be on social media because of that. So my opinion is I think he does need to come back and interact with the people, and hopefully Meta doesn't listen to dickhead Schiff. So speaking of presidential runs, someone else is running for president, or at least playing footsie with it, socks off. Okay, so who would that be? You guessed it. You guessed it, Nikki Haley. She was interviewed yesterday actually by Fox's Bret Baier, where she said, quote, well, when you're looking at a run for president, you look at two things. Of course, you just look at two, not 4 or 5. You first look at, does the current situation push for new? Strange statement there. The second question is, am I that person that could be that new leader? On the first question, you can look at all across the board, domestic, foreign policy. You can look at, inflation going up, economy shrinking, government getting bigger, small business owners not being able to pay their rent, big businesses getting these bailouts. All of these things warrant the fact that, yes, we need to go in a new direction. She added, so do I think I could be that leader? Yes. But we are still working through things, and we'll figure it out. She says, I've never lost a race. I said that then, and I still say that now. I'm not going to lose now. Well, I'm a little confused, Nikki. Didn't last year you say a little something?
I would not run if President Trump ran. And I would talk to him about it. That's something that we'll have a conversation about at some point if that decision is something that has to be made. But yeah, I would absolutely. I had a great working relationship with him. I appreciated the way he let me do my job. I thought we did some fantastically great foreign policy things together. And look, I just want to keep building on what we accomplished and not watch it get torn down.
Of course, when Bret Baier reminded Haley of her promise, she replied in part, the survival of America matters, and it's bigger than one person. And when you're looking at the future of America, I think it's time for new generational change. And this has to be the most hilarious thing she could have said last night. If I run, I'm running against Joe Biden. That's what I'm focused on. No, bitch. If you're running against everybody in the race, inclusive of Donald Trump, who you said you wouldn't run against if he was running, that you'd talk about it. I don't think that conversation has been had between y'all. Just saying, but she said, yeah, that's what I'm focused on. It's just going to be me and Joe. because we can't have a second term of Joe Biden, she said. I don't think, well, no, I agree with you. We don't need a second term of that asshat. She says, I don't think you need to be 80 years old to go be a leader in D.C. I think we need a young generation to come in, step up, and really start fixing things. Well, I'm not saying she's old, but I don't, she's not like AOC young either, and I'm not saying I would want AOC in there either. What a shit show that would be. So what do you guys think? Are you excited about Nikki Haley footsying around with running for president in 2024? Do you think she has a chance? Oh, such fun. So earlier today, news broke that Joe Biden was named in an email found on Hunter's laptop. Imagine that, according to dailymail.com. It seems back in October 2017, Hunter and his uncle Jimmy were brokering a multi-million-dollar deal to supply gas from Louisiana to China's energy giant CEFC. Joe had, of course, just finished up his VP term, and at the time hadn't yet announced his run for 2020. So in that email written by a Louisiana-based attorney, Robert Fang, it said, quote, a call from Joe Biden, that's right, Joe Biden and Hunter Biden had been arranged on Monday morning to discuss the purchase of the 5 million tons of gas, end quote. Now, the report notes that it's possible Fang mistyped Joe, but intended to write Jim. Okay. There are other sources, however, such as additional emails and whistleblower testimony that suggest Joe was involved in Hunter's business dealings with the Chinese. Fang then later would send a proposal via email discussing his liquid natural gas deal, LNG, with Biden's and their Chinese partners. The email in part said, if your client will purchase a 25-year stream of LNG, I can build the plant for $12 billion. And of course, we all remember Tony Bobulinski. Remember this guy who claims to have met with Joe Biden to discuss the Chinese deal? He, along with partners Gilliar and Rob Walker, a family friend, all shared text messages. And after Hunter made a reference to, quote, my chairman, I love all these code words. It's so James Bondy, who had an opinion about their deal, Walker texted Bobulinski to say, quote, when he said his chairman, okay, when he said his chairman, he was talking about his dad. That's what was in the text. And then Gilliar wrote in another text, don't mention Joe, this is a quote, don't mention Joe being involved. It's only when you're face to face. I know you know that, but they're paranoid. Ugh. Oh my gosh. Okay, again, why are we pretending that we're just finding out about this email? They've had this shit for 3 years. They've known this stuff. Is it just coincidence they're like, you know, like Fartgate, squeezing that out now during the time where they could kind of be screwing with dipshit Biden's 2024 run for president again? It's the irony is hilarious. First the classified documents debacle, and now, oh my God, like we're gonna another email. It's like they have known about this shit, folks. They have known about this. It's really getting hilarious now. So anyways, last but not least, from the Clown Chronicles, Biden sings happy birthday, but forgets to who? Of course he does. He's a fucking moron. See you guys back here on the 3rd of February. Good night.
Well, look, my wife has a rule in her family. When somebody's birthday, you sing happy birthday. You ready? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Valen. Happy birthday to you. Well, happy birthday, dear
fucking
Valen.
guy.